Well, for more on this AFCON chat, let's now speak to RSG's soccer reporter, Ian Morris. Very good afternoon to you. Happy New Year. It's going to be a very interesting evening. But before we get into today's round of 16 matches, a very interesting quarterfinal that we'll be witnessing there between Senegal and Mali. Mali, they are drawing their way all the way to the quarterfinals, Ian.
It's been an interesting road for Mali. And I think, as you just said now, they will be the team that dishes up the surprises. And I think, in this AFCON so far, it has been a case of the bigger teams really having a tough time against the smaller nations. So I think every nation in this African Cup of Nations is giving their all. And as I said, no team can relax, because once you're on that pitch, every team gives 100% and they give everything for their nation to win that specific match.
Absolutely. And of course, this evening, actually in just a couple of minutes' time, we'll see the kickoff between hosts Morocco and Tanzania. Let's first speak about this Tanzanian side. This is the first time that they've reached the knockout stages, the round of 16, and they're taking on the tournament favorites, who are also hosts of this AFCON. It won't be an easy outing for them.
No, definitely. Tanzania, just said, one of the smaller nations, one of the surprise packages in the tournament so far, and they're coming up against the hosts. The stadium will be packed, and there will be 100% of support behind the host nation. But just as I said earlier, no one can rest on their laurels, because it's going to be an interesting clash. But as we know, Morocco's got all the stars in the world. They've got the momentum behind them. They qualified with flying colors for the knockout stages. And Tanzania, they will have their work cut out for them, especially at the back, because, Morocco has got speedy players, especially on the sides, putting in that dangerous crosses. And they obviously can vary their attacks as well. They can come to the midfield. They've got good ball players. So the smaller nation, Tanzania, not writing them off, but they will definitely have their work cut out for them against one of the favorites, Morocco, later this evening.
No, absolutely. I mean, we speak of the African Footballer of the Year there, Achraf Hakimi, who's also going to be very important for the Moroccans, the likes of Brahim Diaz. And of course, we saw those two bicycle kicks from Ayoub Al-Kabi. I wonder if we'll be seeing some of those interesting goals that he'll be scoring this evening, Ian.
Interesting, Tolly, in the knockout stage, it's a different story, because as we've seen in the previous matches, it seems, there's almost like a nervous energy kicking in, the knockout stage, because that one mistake can cost you the match. So I hope that we can see it, but, going against the grain, I don't think so tonight, because both teams will go all out. And I think it will be a single goal, maybe one or two goals will separate the teams. And, these knockout stages are so unpredictable. As we saw last night as well, Tunisia were knocked out, and you can never tell. So if Tanzania can keep the Moroccans for a prolonged period, and they don't let the Moroccans score, the pressure will be on the home side, and you never know, it can turn around, and they can use that to their benefit, and they can maybe use that to catapult themselves to a victory. So it's the knockout stage, anything is possible.
Ooh, and then, of course, Ian, the big one this evening, kickoff 9 p.m., Bafana Bafana taking on Cameroon, who are the 5-time champions of this Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Let's maybe first start about, Bafana and the tactics that you think they should be employing this evening, because we know in terms of that midfield, there have been quite a number of changes from what we saw from their opening match against Angola and then Egypt. What do you think Coach Hugo Broos needs to do just to make sure that at least they're able to get past Cameroon this evening?
I think firstly, let's start at the back. I think let's keep the subtle, back four that we've had. They've been consistent. Sometimes a back three for Bafana, but I think let's start there. Let's keep the continuity going, because I think we can single out, Koliso Mudau, Mbukezeli, Mbukazi, Gezana, all those players, they've been standout performers at the back for Bafana so far. But just adding that, we've conceded a goal in every match. So I think that is maybe something that we must look out for tonight, not to concede, and not to concede early, because then the pressure will be on us. But looking at the midfield, as you said, Cody, I think maybe, player like Rilebo Mufokeng, he can make the difference with his speed, his technical ability. And, Ashton Apollos has also been a standout performer with his pace on the left-hand side. I think he can also make a difference for the national team. But I definitely expect one or two changes in that midfield because I think we need to start on the front foot because, in previous matches, I think we've been lethargic starters. And I think that has cost us. And I think tonight we can't rest on our laurels. I think we need to come out of the blocks blazing and, show that intention because, the Indomitable Lions is not any team. They're one of the top teams in Africa. And I think we need to stamp our authority on our opponents tonight. And I think it starts by dominating in that midfield area.
No, absolutely. And you speak about that defense because we know in the previous AFCON, Bafana had quite a number of clean sheets. We can't say the same for this tournament. And we know in terms of Cameroon, their attacking prowess there with Man United's Brian Mbeumo, he's going to be quite a handful for our defense.
Yeah, Brian Mbeumo hasn't quite set the world alight so far. He's played in patches, but big players perform in the big matches. So I sort of like, singling out tonight to stand out. He knows all about pressure. He plays in the biggest league in the world for one of the biggest sides in the world, like you said, Manchester United player. So maybe he can perform for Cameroon tonight. And then if we look at another player, also Carlos Saliba, he plays straight for Brighton and Hove Albion also in the English Premiership. Also another player to look out for. He's been a standout to me, the anchor of that Cameroon midfield. So he will be one of the players to look out for. And then up front, the interesting Christian for Bafana. He's a young 19-year-old from Borussia Dortmund up in Germany. He's got one goal so far, and he's the danger man for the Cameroonians up front. So that, back four that I named earlier, they need to watch out for this player. He's got pace, he's got scoring ability, so I think we need to look out for him as well.
And just before I let you go, Ian, how do you see both of these matches going? Do you see us even going to extra time and maybe a penalty shootout just to decide the outcome?
Yeah, it can never be ruled out in a tournament like this, totally, because as I mentioned, it's a knockout stage. Teams are obviously nervous. They don't want to make mistakes. And in saying that, sometimes, over-eagerness also costs teams by, making mistakes. But I think in the first game, I give it to the host Morocco. I think they have a bit too much quality for the Tanzanians. And I think in the next match between Bafana Bafana and Cameroon will be a cracker. It will be one of the games of the tournament so far. And I think if Bafana plays up to the standard that they have been in the qualifying campaign for the World Cup and in the AFCON also and in the preceding games, as I said, if we can stamp our authority, I think Bafana Bafana will be able to get one over the Indomitable Lions. Remember also, just adding on, Tony, in the recent past, Bafana Bafana has had the edge over the Indomitable Lions, and I think that can also be a booster for the South African national team tonight.
All right, that's Ian Morris. Thank you so much for breaking down these two round of 16 matches that are upon us in terms of the AFCON. And for Ian Morris, of course, the soccer reporter for Aris here, giving it to Morocco and Bafana Bafana. We'll see, of course, how it unfolds later on. Of course, remember that Coach Hugo Bruce was at the helm when Cameroon won their Africa Cup of Nations title in 2017. But of course, this time around, he's looking to do it with Bafana Bafana, but they need to make sure that they get past this hurdle of Cameroon and, of course, qualify for the quarterfinals.